Hello and welcome to another edition of Vinyl Night. Maybe not that uncle, but I'm your long lost uncle, Johnny C. Johnny C's knee? See Johnny C's knee? Tonight's episode, part one in my gripping mini series, It's All Relative. But before we get into that action, uh, let's have a shout out from our sponsor, vinylnight.weebly.com. Ask for it by name, vinylnight.weebly.com, for the finest in the print version of Vinyl Night. So this uh, basically all started with this record right here. It's called The Band Plays On, and it's Backstreet Crawler. When I picked this album up and took a look at the on the back here, it has the uh, fellows that are in the band. One name stood out here, and that was Paul Kossoff. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, Paul Kossoff, what? It was ringing a little teeny weeny bell, like I should know who that is, but it just didn't register. And after a search on the wonderful World Wide Web, come to find out that Paul Kossoff was in Free. And it's like, oh, okay, but maybe one of the reasons that I don't associate him with Free so much is because I only have one album by Free. I don't know what happened there. I always enjoyed the band Free, covered All Right Now, like a gazillion other cover bands, probably back in the day. And it's like this version of Free, or the boys in this version of Free is Paul Rogers, Simon Kirke, who of course went on to do Bad Company, which might be in a later part of the miniseries here. Tetsuya Yamauchi, who I didn't know at all, and some fellow named Rabbit. And he'll come back a little bit here to tie things up a tad, and to be part of the cliffhanger maybe for the next installment of the miniseries. Although Paul Kossoff is credited on here as playing on guitar on several of the tracks, I just, completely missed that association. Side note here. Uh, while I was taking the insert out, inner sleeve here, there's nothing, by the way, there's nothing on here, and there's nothing to tell you who the rabbit fellow is. We'll come around to that in a bit. I did find whoever had this record did happen to print out, he printed out the lyrics to all the songs on side one. So it must have been sing along time just for side one, and you know, Wishing Well, of course, one of the big hits from this album. So now I got to the point where I had to find out, well, wait a minute now, who's this rabbit fellow? Because inquiring minds wanted to know. I kind of had my Paul Kossoff thing straightened out, but who's this rabbit? Well, come to find out that Rabbit's name is a
John Bundrick?
John Bundrick, um, American born, happened to be over in England at the time, and he was a keyboard player with Johnny Nash. I can see clearly now. He also was over in England around that time. Him and Bob Marley. Um, no credits on this album at all whatsoever. The liner notes on here, basically all about Johnny Nash. Nothing about the musicians, unless there was another paper with the insert here. There's nothing on it, so there was nothing to tell me that Rabbit was the keyboard player on this record. except from the wonderful World Wide Web. So our paper trail quit with this record, uh, Johnny Nash. I can see clearly now. But come to find out, once again, from doing a little bit of looking around, uh, Paul Kossoff, Simon Kirke, Tetsu, and Rabbit had an album out in 1971, and that was that was the name of it: Kossoff, Kirke, Tetsu, and Rabbit. So that was just a pre Johnny Nash. So now I find out that there's a bit more association with Paul Kossoff. Um, and then when I'm looking up John Bundrick to get the Johnny Nash affiliation, um, he has gone on to play with a lot of other people. But one of the bands that was listed as him being associated with was Backstreet Crawler. But on the credits on Backstreet Crawler, the keyboard player's name is Mike Montgomery. Well, come to find out that Mike Montgomery was replaced by Rabbit in a later incarnation of Backstreet Crawler. So now the plot thickens. So now it's kind of like we all realize that, especially for session players, that they can be on a lot of people's albums. But these guys seem to be, actually part of the band and not, not necessarily a session player, although John Bundrick, also known as Rabbit, did go on to do a lot of things with a lot of people. One of the albums that I did find that also Paul Kossoff was also in good demand as a session guitarist. I did happen to find the both of them made an appearance on Shortcut Draw Blood, Jim Capaldi. Although Kossoff is only listed as being on playing guitar on one track here, and the same with Rabbit as being only being on one track on this also. So I guess the main gist of it is you can find so many ties, so many relations to other things going on. And of course, with Paul Rodgers and Simon Kirke and Free and some of the other people that have been affiliated with some of the other things here, I'm actually probably maybe the next episode I'm either going to take a step back and take a look at some of the early Free and some of the people that are relative, or else I might take a look at the Backstreet Crawler here at especially one person here in particular named Tony Tony Braunagel. We might take a look at that relationship and see where that flies. But needless to say, there was a lot of stuff going on here that I looked and found, and as I said, once again, thanks to the wonderful World Wide Web. So this was part one in the mini-series. Let's hope to have part two and try and make some more sense of all these relations that are going on here. It's all relative, all these guys got around, and let's take a look and see what happens. It's all relative. Good night.